Hi there. Nice to see you again for another one of our webinar series, this time about doing what you love. Today is April Fool's Day, the 1st of April, and for anybody who enjoyed a little bit of a prank, I hope you had a great time. For those who were the subject of the pranks, I hope you enjoyed that too. I had a few played on me, and it was rather amusing, really. Any case, I want to be able to just talk about something that's important to us all, and that is around the idea of seeing what it is that in life that we love doing. And I draw on my book here, Career Clarity, How to Find Career Fulfillment. And you can now get this, this book via the website career365.com.au. I've recently relaunched our website and rather excited about it. Let's get into what this presentation is about. And probably a good way to start would be me. Who am I? I'm the lead coach of Career 365. For those of you going through app placement, there's a very good chance that that we've interacted with each other. You can see that I've authored 3 books. For anybody who wants to write a book, I can take you through that especially. For those of you who have never written a book, I can tell you it's like a process of giving birth. So I'm very, very proud of these children of mine. And in fact, if you want to come along to an official launch, now that we can, post-COVID, sort of post-COVID, we're organising something at the back end of May. Let's get into the presentation. And what I'm going to do is just turn off my video here. There we are, so it doesn't interfere. And by all means, just send questions through your usual chat window. So why do you want a career that incorporates your interests and doing what you love? Well, there are several reasons here, 3 of which I give you. One is that there's about your commitment and engagement. You turn up to work and it's a lot more fun, and it gives you unique power. And what I did was came up as a result of coaching many, many people. What I ended up doing was discovering this process, which I call Slimpact. And you'll find that when you find your Slimpact, it supports you to make an impact. You can see the words IMPACT in Slimpact. When you work from your enriched spot, and I'll take you through that. Make a pact, you can see PACT in there. Make a pact with yourself to work from your enriched spot. And you can also see ACT in there, and you act with purpose and enrichment in whatever you do in your career. And Slimpact is the intersection. Well, each of those letters are S, L, I, and M. And the S stands for strengths. The L stands for what you love or love to do. I is what's of importance, and M is of money. Now, we're going to concentrate on the L side of things today, but the intersection of all those, the S, the L, the I, and the M, gives you a career enriched spot. In summary, if you do what it is that you're really good at, what you really love, and do and work in a way that's of what's of importance to you, that's say the type of people you like to work around, and you're discerning about that, and also meeting an organization that has strong values. And if you can find someone or something that provides that to you, then you're very career enriched. And you don't actually have to go beyond that to have a very fulfilling career, but some people do, and I call that SLIMP, which is the S, the L, the I, the M, and the P together. And that's a super enriched career. And you'll find that about 1 to 2% of people really care to develop their own purpose. But what you'll find is that if you have that, it's what I call a super enriched career. And And I came about realizing how important this was when I coached John, and John became quite almost like a seminal example for me. And I do want to take you through John. John presented to me quite a number of years ago. He was age 62. He was working in compliance for a financial services organization. And in any case, John was fired, and he came in to see me, and he looked dejected. I remember he was overweight, grey suit, beige. Actually, it was beige suit, very grey and pallid. He just looked completely spent. And I thought, oh gosh, this is not going to be an easy one. But to cut a long story short, over time, I actually asked him. Well, I actually asked him after we developed some connection with each other, what is it that you want to do? And pardon the French here, but he basically said, same shit, different day. And I thought, how could you, as a leading career coach in Australia, Greg, how could you let somebody continue to do the same bleep, different day, and feel good about yourself as a leading career coach? And so what I decided to do was to I committed to helping him. And it was very clear that having been fired by an organization, that John would be doing a disservice going back into the same profession. And what became clear was that he was really good. His S's, his strengths were in the area of administration and compliance. He actually enjoyed the idea of order. What he didn't enjoy was the industry in which he was operating. And I found out in his L, which we're going to be exploring today, his L was cricket. And he could talk at length about cricket. Now, cricket, for me personally, is not my favorite topic, but it was for him. And it wasn't about me that day. It was actually all about him. And I posed the question to him, John, what would it be like if you actually went into administration in the sport of cricket? And his entire physiology changed, walked out of my office, and we agreed we'd see each other 3 weeks later. In any case, after he'd do some exercises. And a day before we were to meet with each other, he cancelled on me. And I thought, oh God, okay, well, why? But it was for a very good reason. He said to me, Greg, you wouldn't believe it. When I walked out of your office, I thought, hey, I could actually do this. And he landed a job in cricket, in the administration of cricket. And for me, I felt incredibly fulfilled. But it dawned on me all those years ago how important the intersection of S for strengths and L for love. And we'll get to the other aspects of it down the line. But today we're going to be talking about those areas of the L. Now, you may have actually seen some prior webinar type content from me, or looked at the modules that you have access to, or maybe read my book. And you'll see content that's already been talked about on your strengths. But what I want to do is talk to you about your L about today, about what you love. And with John, it was all we discovered, unlike finance, that his real love was cricket. So what's yours? Let's go through this. And what I want to be able to encourage you to do is to start thinking deeper about what your interests are. And I suggest you work your way through a list of questions in the Career Clarity Action Steps workbook. Now, in order for you to be able to get that, you'd need to be able to either email me for the link, or go onto our website, career365.com.au, or go into your modules and do that. But some of the questions that you have in the modules, but also from this workbook, are as follows. And I haven't taken all of them, but there's a smattering of these in the next several slides. So some clues to what your interests are is, what hobbies did you used to do before life got so busy? What would you like to take up in any of those again? Poses an interesting question, doesn't it? So what would you do in that situation? Ask yourself those questions. What about another set of questions? Thinking about your current or past jobs, what activities or tasks did you find the most engaging? And we all have things that we actually have to do in life that aren't overly exciting. And then there are some things that we do find exciting. So it may have been, for example, people who like the idea of order don't necessarily, and I'm generalizing here, but they may not necessarily like in their job interacting with other people, but they do like the idea of having systems in place and dealing with those things and getting those things in order. So it may be, hey, I want to avoid dealing with people, but I want to be able to have a whole lot of stuff that I need to create processes for and administer and so on and so forth. What's that? So what activities or tasks did you find most engaging? Here's another one. Imagine you've retired from work. What would you wish you'd done with your time in the last 20 years? Now, so cast your mind forward, but also to that retirement point. But what would you actually like to have done leading up to that retirement? It's a really interesting thing. If you retired from work, maybe money was of no, well, I mean, it's a self-contained question here. What would you wish you'd done with your time in the last 20 years? It opens up some really good questions. It's a creative question about thinking, what would you rather have done? And what and steer you in that particular direction. And what did you enjoy in your childhood before external pressures set in, like getting good grades or finding a good job? Was it kicking a ball? Was it doing model making, for example? Was it building? Was it doing putting things together? Was it dance? Was it some creative flair? Whatever it is, it opens up the questions where your real interests are, and so I've helped plenty of people just with that question alone come to a realization when they go quiet within themselves and they remember all those years ago when they really enjoyed themselves as a kid, and what life was like and what they really enjoyed. Now, there actually, you might not think this is realistic, but the truth of the matter is, it actually is. It shows you that there's some inherent fun aspects that you may have actually given up on. Not necessarily saying that you were skilled now in doing these things, but notwithstanding, it shows an area of interest. What's another one? If money wasn't a consideration, what would you happily do for the next 5 years without pay? Now, I was actually 2 or 3 questions ago, I was starting to allude to that, and but I wanted to make sure it was specifically around this particular question. So if money wasn't a consideration, what would you happily do for the next 5 years without pay? Now, I'm not actually asking you not to get paid, because that doesn't sort of stack up necessarily realistically with most people. But there are some very, very fulfilling things that you can do, volunteering in an area and so on. So there's somebody that I recently coached who absolutely loved the idea of swimming and doing and helping to teach people how to swim who were unable to. It's a very fulfilling thing, and it ended up being that that particular person really explored those options for themselves as a career move. What's another one? What burning desire do you hold that you would like to achieve before you die? The thought of death spooks most people out. I'll raise my hand and say, don't like the thought at all. But in line with, say, Stephen Covey, who was very successful as an author and as a transformational coach, who wrote, among many books, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said, if you cast your mind back to the point where you look back on your life. It's a book that he wrote called Live, Love, Learn, Live, Laugh, live, love, learn, and leave a legacy. So what legacy would you like to leave on this planet before you died? The word legacy is a really powerful one. So what would you like to do? What gift would you like to leave the world? What contribution would you like to give that you'd like to achieve before you died? Okay, what do you enjoy doing that despite setbacks keeps you coming back for more? That's a great question for a great set of clues that no matter what happens, you continue to go and go again. I know people who just love the idea of tinkering. And when things don't work, they don't give up. They'll just continue to work out a way in which they can fix whatever they're tinkering on. And yet these people have a real defined office jobs that don't allow them to tinker. I know one guy that I supported who was very much involved with managing a large team of people, and circumstances changed that he no longer held that particular opportunity. His business industry, his industry had changed a lot. Fast forward, he loved the idea of being involved in manual work and created an entire business out of being a handyman. Or as we would call it now, I guess in a PC world, a handy person. But he absolutely loves his life now doing that. You can use your answers to the previous questions as prompts for answering these, and of course adding any other interests. And the whole idea is to actually get to a large list of those. And then what I'd suggest you do is to make a list. And there are a whole lot of other questions, by the way, in the workbooks and in the modules and in the book itself. But what I want you to do is to make a list of at least 5 interests that you enjoy doing with people. And is there something these activities all have in common? So there are people interests. You'll see that there are also informational interests and object interests. Let's just go through and just make sure I'm clear here. So I want to make sure that you make a list of things that you may have already come across where you like to interact with people. Informational. Make a list of at least 5 interests that you enjoy doing with informational knowledge. So I helped somebody become a CEO of an organization recently, and in his spare time, he absolutely loves the idea of working out how pieces of the IT puzzle fit. Now, this is not necessarily his main game. In fact, it's not, but he just loves the idea of understanding gadgetry and also the stuff behind it. He can code and so on and so forth. So what informational interests are, and is there something that all these activities have in common? So the whole idea is that you've got this large compilation of things that interest you, and you start to sort into people interests, informational interests, and then object interests. So make a list of at least 5 interests that you enjoy doing for the experience. So is the tinkering, for example, something that you like to do because you just like to do it for the experience, or is it because of something else? An example, what I mean between, say, people interests, informational interests, or object interests. And I'll use golf as an example, and I use this also in the book. So imagine if you play golf, do you do it to socialize? That's people interests. Okay, do you do that because it's golf is because of people interests, or is it because of the idea that you really like the knowledge or the know-how, how to master the game of golf with all its fundamental idiosyncrasies around bunker shots, fairway shots, putting greens, and working out, and I could go on and on and on. So is it something that you do because you like the idea of the data and the minutiae of you know, the technique of that? Or do you do it because you like the experience, that you walk around a golf course because of its inherent beauty? And golf courses, by and large, are gorgeous, in my view. I love golf when I get a chance to play it, but also just marvel at how incredible so many golf courses are. So that would be an object interest. Does that make sense? So people, information, and object, and you work out why you have these. And then what I suggest you do is you rank the interests and identify your top types of interests, and that this indicates your top core interests. It doesn't mean that you aren't interested in other areas. It's just that one or two are your absolute focuses. And this is the interest area, people, information, or object, that you should ensure is a major part of your job. So we've deep dived a lot further than John and his cricket. But if you're really going to be spending some time working out the exact areas that you like to work on and with people, or information or objects or other things, then you've got to have this large list that provides clues for your career enrichment. And so the L in Slimpact is what you love is an easy piece of the career puzzle to figure out. Not necessarily it takes some time, but it's an easy piece because it comes more naturally to people when they work out what it is that they absolutely enjoy doing. This component encompasses all those things that seem to enrich your life innately. These are the things you're drawn to, where you seem to lose time because you enjoy what you're doing so completely. A career that incorporates what you love keeps you committed and engaged with what you do, and is therefore an essential component of a successful career. And I guess that, you know, I could summarize this this question around what it is that you love to do, because you know, in that one question, which is, where do you get lost? And if I show you here, just down here, you can see in chapter 4 of the book, Where Do You Get Lost? And that is in the book here. And often when I actually ask people that question, it's a really good clue to them starting to explore what it is that they've loved. Those other questions are questions that will help to explore backwards and forwards in life to be able to design your ideal life. Now, if you want to find out more, the URL is there. You can purchase these books, and they are very, very practical, but you'll see that there's career clarity, career networking, career success. The one where the Slimpact process is worked on, as I've been talking throughout this presentation, is that one in the back, the first one there on the left, which is the career clarity itself. And there are other courses that you can actually get to, where there's career clarity, there's career networking. You can get those now directly yourself, or frankly, to talk to people who aren't as fortunate as you, who have been given an outplacement program. But some people in transition may find that there are some really helpful things that they can get at accessible prices. I've made it very, 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 very available for you, and we're very proud of these particular courses. And they actually are little slices of and targeted slices of the modules that you've got available. You can see there's career clarity and career networking, and then what we've got is we've got career catching, career success. So career catching is one that we may not be familiar with, but it was all around your resume, standing out in LinkedIn, nailing a job interview, and so on and so forth. Okay, any questions that you might actually have for me? So one question that came up, and that is that where do you get lost? Where do I get lost? Okay, where do I get lost? I get lost in terms of, honestly, I love writing content. So no surprise that it was an enjoyable process writing books. I love the idea of learning, reading new stuff. I love the idea of interacting with people. So it's no surprise that anything that I do is around drawing energy from those what Carl Jung would say, and Myers-Briggs type indicator would say, the more extroverted tendencies. And whilst I'm on that MBTI side of things, people who get energy from people are called extroverts. People who get energy from doing things are called introverts. There's no judgment on being an extrovert or introvert. It's about where you get your energy from. So the question I actually have is, where do you get your energy from? Where do you get lost? And that's an important thing. Okay, another question is around the Slimpact model and how important it is to deep dive on these things. Look, the Slimpact model is a simple model, but I'll say it's not necessarily easy. You don't, however, need to do any significant introspection, like investing in personality tests. You could, but you don't have to. This whole process is something that allows you to really audit on your life. What are the clues that have come up in your life so far that allow you to be able to really determine your S, what your strengths are? And we've gone through that in previous webinars and also in your modules and in the book and workbooks is there. And the L today is about what you love. So in the case of John, he had an intersection of S and L. He didn't even, he was premature in working out what was of importance to him. And the clues to that next level, I, around what type of people you want to be around, what I call social core, and then it's also about your values. What are your core values? So that's what the I is about. And then hunting around for the commercial reality about who's going to pay you to do your S, your L, and the I. Now, you may have heard of the Japanese concept Ikigai, Ikigai, I-K-I-G-A-I, Ikigai, and that is a well-regarded process to help you work out what your career moves are. The one issue that I actually have with Ikigai, and that's why I come up with Slimpact, is that most people get stuck on what the world needs, around a purpose. It's very, very difficult to work out what the world needs for most people, but I've found that if I made it simpler for people to grasp with this Slimpact model, what's your S? What are your strengths? What do you love? What do you love to do? What's of importance to you? And the M is who's going to pay you for those. It's a lot more simple path for you to get to. So rounding this thing off, the Slimpact model is not is a simple one. It's not an easy one for you to get to the answers of. And a typical thing that would happen is that you might come up with 2, 3, 4 ideas. In the book, we talk about testing the waters and finding out about that. And so what I have here is chapter 9, testing the waters, and a plan for how to actually work out what it is that you want to be able to do. Today's been a quick cook's tour, as we say, of L. Let me know by emailing me at gregw@career365.com.au if you'd like to find out any more. But otherwise, I look forward to interacting with you all in working out the L in what you love. I wish you well, and in the lead up to Easter, for those of you who celebrate Easter, have a really wonderful Easter. I believe there are other religious festivals as well. For people who are celebrating Passover, continue to have a wonderful Passover. I believe it might be Ramadan coming up. For all of those of you who are celebrating Ramadan, a peaceful Ramadan to you all. It's a lovely time of the year. I'm in Sydney at the moment. I'm just looking out here at the sunshine, beautiful day as it starts to cool down as we're deepening into autumn/fall, as the Northern Hemisphere people would call. So have a lovely one and see you at another webinar. All the best.